Hello, and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors. My name is Lydia Radin. This is Josh Valinsky.
Hello, everyone.
And welcome to our show where every week we present the evidence, the hard evidence, to expose the crime and corruption at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University. These are the criminals in our neighborhood. And we also go one step further and we show how you in the viewing audience can use this information to protect yourselves so your life isn't destroyed the way my life was destroyed. There's actually a civil rights attorney down south. I'll probably show it next week. I had the great good fortune of talking to his nephew who trained him. We ran into each other. I'm suing in the federal courts against these crooked doctors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University. You know that they're located in the Bronx, and Yeshiva University's main campus is on the Upper West Side in Washington Heights, and we have Stern Women's College here in Midtown. Okay, these are very dangerous people. They're racists. They've broken all kinds of laws. They've destroyed my life. And when I was in federal court this past week, I had the great good fortune of running into the nephew of a famous civil rights attorney, and he was taught how to write civil rights cases, and he shared with me his complaint. Now, his uncle fought civil rights case in the Deep South for 28 years. So when he heard that I had been victimized for over 20 years, he was like, you keep fighting, because my uncle fought for over almost 30 years, 28 years, in order to break the color barrier and to win rights, our civil rights. So it's unfortunate, but we have a few heroes who will help. So I'm going to show you right now one hero named Carl Miller. He's our hero. I'm going to change the camera view. One of the things that I've been encouraging people to do is learn your Constitution, because if you learn your Constitution, this little book right here, sorry about that. There's very little they can do to you if you've got your Constitution in your hands. Okay? So of all the books that you're going to read, when I was a medical school student, I had stacks of books I had to read. When we look at Carl Miller, I'm going to introduce the audience to Carl Miller. He takes people to the law library. There's rooms full of books. Okay? If you have this little pamphlet right here, this magic little book right here, nobody can take advantage of you. You okay? Are you going to ask me where Jason is?
Yeah, what happened to Jason? Where is he today?
Jason Berg usually comes and calls in from Jersey City, because he's handing out the Constitution in Jersey City, and he's organizing up through National Liberty Alliance members of Jersey City to fight against the corrupt courts. So he's out on a mission to recruit more men. So he's out in the field today recruiting more people to help with the cause. In the meantime, what I'd like to present, and then I'm going to get back into our show, is I'm going to show you in the viewing audience the information. This is life-saving information that you need, okay? If you understand the Constitution and how to argue it effectively, any adult man or woman should be able to go into any court and with a little common sense argue for themselves and not have corrupt lawyers and corrupt judges ruin your life.
And the Constitution is more important than it's ever been, because we are on the threshold of perhaps dictatorship, you know, as we can tell from Ed Snowden and WikiLeaks, and also these new militarized police. We've
become a fascist state, and so we need to put a stop to that. And what every man and woman needs to do is go out and get your Constitution. This is I should be reading this to school children. Okay, I should be reading this to school children. There's a general who used to be Army Chief of Staff, General Casey, who was reading to school children. This is what needs to be read to school children. So as soon as there's a break in the action for me, I think I should go down and start reading this to school children, because if you know these few pages right here, you can put a stop to the harm towards you.
Yes.
There's not a lot of whole information here, but if you master this, you can protect yourself for life. So who is sharing this vital information with us? A guy named Carl Miller. Now I'm going to show you Carl Miller. So let me change the camera view. And I'm going to show you right now. Oh, I think we got a phone call. Hello, thank you for calling into our show. Hello, do you want me to put you on air with a question or comment? We got a caller. Hello? Would you like me to put you through? Okay. There you go. You're on the air.
Okay.
Hello?
Raise the fader.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, there you are. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment about the people stealing.
Go ahead.
Just people. I just want to say on the air, and I hope the whole world is listening. I hope the whole world is listening to me right now, and that I never stole an identity from no one, a social security from no one, and that's why they're gonna bring the chip, especially to the United States of America.
What do you mean you never stole anything from anybody? Are you fighting a court battle?
No, I'm talking about stealing people's identities.
Yeah, there's a lot of identity theft. And again, if you stay with us for 1 second, caller, are you watching us on TV right now?
Yes.
Okay, turn down the volume because you're going to get some feedback. I'm going to show you something. Stay with us because you're watching us on TV. I'm going to show you if you've been victimized by any kind of crime, what you need to do to protect yourself. It's very simple. So I'm going to show you a guy named, where's my, hold on for 1 sec. Here we go. Hang on for 1 second. I'm going to change the camera view to my Skype computer, and I'm going to show you a guy named Mr. Carl Miller.
Okay.
And I'm also going to show you Judge McLaughlin. Judge McLaughlin, Edward McLaughlin. This is the criminal in our neighborhood. Judge McLaughlin is a judge at 100 Center Street in criminal court. He's a criminal. What he did to me, he did to 2 other people, and they won against him. So I'm going to show that to you now. I'm going to show you the scam, the criminal scheme that a criminal court judge executes. And just about a week or 2 ago, I had the misfortune of running into Judge McLaughlin, and he threatened me. So we're going to put a stop to that right now. But I'm going to show you how you can protect yourself. So
Okay.
let me change the camera view to the Skype computer, which is what you're seeing right now.
All right.
And right here, if you go to YouTube, right here, this is a hero. Whoops, did I not change? Sorry, here we go. This is, now we're on the Skype computer. Sorry, guys. But right here, this is Mr. Carl Miller. Okay, and if you go to YouTube, very simply, type in Carl Miller. Carl Miller is a decorated war veteran. He's certainly not radical. And he teaches what he learned about the Constitution from our nation's fighting men, from men and women who realized that we were not being educated as we should be. So if you know your Constitution, and by the way, he's very good, he's very knowledgeable. This is the best hour or so you've ever spent in your life, and he will teach you what you need to know about the Constitution so that you can effectively go in and protect yourself. And here's one thing he showed us. Let me change back to us. Oops. Hold on for just 1 second. So if you know Mr. Carl Miller, and did you have something you wanted to say, Judge?
When you follow the Constitution, you are on solid ground, and you should be assured of yourself, because the Constitution specifically covers all you need to know to be knowledgeable concerning your rights.
Yeah, but one of the things that Carl Miller will, did you see that, caller? Out in the audience, did you see the video, and you know how to go to YouTube and look up Carl Miller?
No, I don't even have a phone. I don't even have access to the internet.
Okay, so what you do is you go down to your public library, and you can access the internet through your public library. You can do that. You can ask a friend who has internet access. There's ways to get access to the internet to gain access to this information. So the important thing is, and this is what I was watching Carl Miller for about 30 minutes last night. Here's what he taught me. As soon as there's a due process violation, as soon as your rights to due process are violated, so you go into court and there's a due process violation, then the courts lose all jurisdiction over you, because the only power that our courts have is through the Constitution. We, the people, created this Constitution, and we, the people, gave the power to the courts over us. The second they violate this Constitution by violating our rights to due process under the 4th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, or the 14th Amendment, then all jurisdiction is lost. Because once you break the contract that we have, once you do a due process, a civil rights violation, then all power that the judge or the courts or the police have is broken, and they no longer have jurisdiction over you. So if there's a civil rights violation, if by the 4th Amendment, by your 5th Amendment right to due process and equal protection of the law, by the 14th Amendment, as happened to me, because I can demonstrate right now that there was a crime committed against me in the federal courts, and they tampered with my documents. That's a very serious crime. I'm going to show you how it happened. It's very simple to understand. Once that happens, then all jurisdiction or all power that the court had to make a ruling or any of the judge's decisions are now null and void. They have no power over me once they denied me equal protection of the law, once they denied me due process. Now, I got this in 30 minutes, okay? So this is the best time that you've ever had to spend. If you go out there and you tell everybody in your neighborhood, go to the library, get free internet access. They'll give you you go to any public library, you can get a free half an hour on the internet to listen to Carl Miller, Part 1. He's also known as Constitution Man. In 30 minutes, you will have more information to protect yourself from the police, from the judges, from the corrupt court system. So this is the best 30 minutes that you've ever spent. This is the most valuable 30 minutes you've ever spent. If you go and look at Carl Miller's videos and you get a copy of the Constitution, you can get this anywhere. You can go to any law library and ask for a copy of the Constitution.
My friend Alan Flax, a well-known public advocate, goes to the library, and he's been so effective in his research in the New York Public Library that the New York Times has wrote an article about him on how he actually does all his work in a library. And he's a very, very strong advocate for people's rights in the democratic organization.
Good. Did you want to say something, caller? Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what they doing is they letting people steal people's identities so they can bring the chip, the sign of the beast.
I'm sure they're doing all kinds of illegal things, and what you need to be aware of is with identity theft or with any crime is that you know, it's interesting because they like to prosecute people in this, they prosecuted me illegally. They like to prosecute people in our system. It's become a commission-based prosecution where innocent people like me are sent to jail when we've done nothing wrong. Here's one of the culprits. If you're in Manhattan and they bring you into court, you might be facing Judge McLaughlin. He's still there. I saw Judge McLaughlin in FedEx Kinko's down by the court system on August 4th. And I approached him amiably because he had convicted me illegally, and I should be able to do something called a 440 hearing. Now, you don't have to know all these statutes and codes, you just need to know simple common sense. If they created a false record by the sin of omission and by false statements of material fact to convict you, you should be able to go back to that same judge and said, what happened here was wrong. This was in fact a crime. And he's supposed to say, Miss Radin, You know, we're going to call everybody into court, have your attorney petition me for a hearing, and we're going to put all the facts on the record so that we don't use the court system in a scam to create a false record to harm you for life. Okay, that's not what Judge McLaughlin did. This is Judge Ed McLaughlin. He is dangerous to others, and he ran a scam. Now, I'm going to show, let me switch the camera view for just 1 second here. Okay.
He's a bit tricky. I've run into him too. He likes to give the history of cases,
Who?
of famous cases.
Who?
Judge McLaughlin. He likes to do that. And that.
You know Judge McLaughlin?
Well, I've seen him work.
How
and
have
he
you
likes
seen him
to
work?
quote famous cases. But you gotta always focus on your issues and your case. And just because somebody else has a case that he knows all about and what was decided really can be quite irrelevant to what you're trying to prove in court.
Well, here's what I can,
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
It's just I gotta let you go and continue seeing the program.
Okay.
Because I'm basically talking about another topic, but you just don't take the sign of the beast, and then that's coming.
Don't take what?
The sign of the beast, the chip.
As what's coming?
Yeah, the chip is in the Bible.
Okay. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. So here we are. This is Judge McLaughlin in Manhattan Criminal Court, and he's a state court judge. This is Judge McLaughlin. Okay, and he runs a scam. Now, if you have access to the computer, what you're going to do is you're going to go on the internet, and on Google or any of your search engines, you're going to type in, and I'm going to show this later on, appeals court has biting words for Vance's office. Okay, so this is Mr. Vance. He's not a Democrat, he's a Democrook. And that's what he is. He's a Democrook. And this was posted on a website. What the scam or the criminal conduct that was executed against me was done against two people who won. Their attorney was Andrew Lankler, and this is his law firm. And what he showed was, when he appealed this, is the same criminal conduct that was executed against me was executed against these two guys who most recently got their sentences reduced. And I'm going to show you what the scheme looks like. Basically, if you go to Judge McLaughlin, I'll show his picture too so we can look at him, is basically the prosecution's case is based on, quote, pure conjecture bolstered by empty rhetoric. Okay, that's how they convicted me. Okay, they had no facts. They actually had perjury. They had obstruction of justice. So basically, when they decide to get you in New York, when they're after you, they convict you. They convict you as quick as they can. And then what they do is the criminal scheme that's executed is they stack the sentences. So the quick thing they do is quick, get something you can prosecute her for, do a rush to judgment. Now you got some convictions, okay, now you got some charges she was convicted of, then you start to stack the sentences. And what Judge McLaughlin does in an organized criminal conspiracy, a scam that he runs with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, as soon as they can convict you, instead of running the sentence concurrently, which is at the same time, they run the sentences consecutively, which is one right after another in a series. Mm-hmm. So if they get you on a little conviction, like a small charge that has maybe 6 months, well, they'll run 6 months, and then another 6 months, and then another 6 months. That's how I wound up in jail for 11 years. 11 years, what am I saying? 11 months. This is how I wound up in Rikers for 11 months. First, they convicted me illegally. And then after they had the illegal conviction, then they ran the small little charges one right after another so they could get a long time to put you, or as much as they could, to put you in jail. Mm-hmm. Okay? So Judge McLaughlin did this to 2 other people. He did it to me, and this is how the scam works. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. You press false charges. They have no basis. Okay? You try to scare the person into either pleading guilty, or in my case, they wanted me to sign a contract where I would promise never to see my records at Yeshiva University. So they started out with thousands, tens of thousands of counts. Then they lowered the counts to like 155. That still didn't scare me off. And then they dragged me into trial. At trial, they convicted me illegally. Okay, you don't convict me when the school committed the crime of obstruction of justice. There was a valid subpoena that was made for my records, and they did not comply with that subpoena.
And you're really a highly capable and competent person, and you were a danger to them. So they multiplied all the convictions, and all of them were phony to begin with.
Exactly, and they ran the scam on other people too. Andrew Lankler vindicated them, so this is the way the scam works. Okay, the ones that Lankler vindicated, they had their sentences stretched out to 7 years, and they got reduced to much less than that. So if you were to type in appeals court has biting words for Vance in your search engine, you can read all about this. I'll bring it up, but I want to simplify it for everyone. I want to keep it simple, and the way to keep it simple is first they bring you up on false charges. Yeah. There's a rush to judgment. As soon as they rack up the convictions, what Judge McLaughlin will do is he'll string the sentences consecutively to put you in jail for as long as he possibly can.
When he was using these dirty tricks and rushing to judgment, if you were aware of what was to be done, what would you have done?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
Well, I probably would have to put a stop to all of this. To put a stop to this, hold on. What I would have done is, well, first of all, you got to understand that your attorney is crooked. He's going to lie. So what I would have done is, that putting a stop to the corrupt courts is something that we're working on. I would have gone to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office with friends and family around me. I would have publicized as much as I possibly could the facts, and I was starting to do that. That's one of the reasons why they put me in Rikers Island, because I was starting to tell the truth. I would have named the judge as a defendant. I would have pressed countercharges. I would have done my own paperwork. I would have gone down to elected officials like Congressman Joseph Crowley, who would have thrown his weight behind me and would have helped me. Unfortunately, we went to Congressman Anthony Weiner, and he's been discredited, but I watched him on New York One. Congressman Weiner was not there. So I would have done a lot more. Had I known, there was a lot more that I would have done. I would have had people in the courtroom taking notes. I would sue that judge. I would have learned from Carl Miller my constitutional rights. I would have pulled the judge's oath, and I would have said, your oath is your bond. And if, I would have had the judge's oath that he's breaking his sworn oath to uphold the Constitution. Judges are supposed to be bonded. If he doesn't have a bond, I'd say, if you illegally convict me, I will put a lien against your property. If you have a bond, I'll put a lien against your bond. In many places, judges are bonded because the municipality or the state or the federal government that's responsible for these judges doesn't want to pay the liability when they do badly. So what they'll do is they'll have the judges be bonded. And so I would have gone to the judge's insurance company and I would have put a commercial lien against that judge's bond. If the judge doesn't have a bond, I would put a lien against the judge's house, his paycheck, his car. I mean, if they wanted to, the only way these judges will be put a stop to is when it's their flesh on the line, just like it's your flesh on the line. You wanted to say something?
Yeah. I want to give you a title for this great book or article you're going to write. it has to be called who is really obstructing justice.
Judge McLaughlin.
That's right.
Yeah, Judge McLaughlin is
He's obstructing justice.
Yes, he is. He's
In everything he does.
That's right.
And every technique he does, he uses.
And what I would do is I would share information. So if you're out there and you're in front of Judge McLaughlin, call me. I'll go down to the criminal court. I will stand there and say, that judge committed the crime, a very serious crime of obstructing justice, and he has no business ruling in anybody's case, and he needs to be removed from the bench.
I mean, he'll say something like, in 1944, Jones versus McGuire, it was decided so-and-so, but that has nothing to do with your case. That's irrelevant. But that's a sort of a way he uses to show he's very knowledgeable in the law. He's not knowledgeable in the law. He's just obfuscating the issues that are on the table at the time.
And this is something you really have to learn, because I do this with my tenants association. I think this is an important point that you brought up. They like to razzle-dazzle you. They like to make you feel small and ignorant. So what you have to do anytime you stand up to the abuse of authority is you need to use simple common sense. So if you have simple common sense and you're a normal, decent person, if they're doing things that don't make sense to you, then you know what they're doing is wrong. Okay, so you use the reasonable man's test. And when they start razzle-dazzling you with all these statutes and codes, all you need to know is your Constitution. Anybody can read this. See how small this book is? This is the best of all the books that I've read in all my life to get my degrees. If you just know this little book and you use simple common sense, even if you don't know your Constitution.
Yeah.
Because I say this when I went to court with Pauline Roman, as you know, and she's up on the, she's fighting a dishonest, corrupt court system. She had a transcript that showed that a key point, and I said, well, if you're in front of the judge and you're on the witness stand, and the attorney against you took your file and has a conflict of interest, did you open your mouth and tell the judge? I mean, there are the simple things that people can do. Open your mouth, speak to the judge, use simple common sense.
Incidentally, a statute is not a law.
Well, that's true too. So what I want to do is, I want to change the camera view for just 1 second. Hold on, let's go to our Skype computer, and I want to...
And so, when you're in court, you have to pay attention, pay close attention.
If you use simple common sense and you're not stupid and they try to intimidate you, you speak up and you say, excuse, because they tried this with me and when they first arraigned me. The judge starts talking to my attorney wants to stab me in the back. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is acting like a bully, so I opened my mouth. Pardon me, ma'am. I'll never forget this. Excuse me, Judge Melissa Jackson. Had the Manhattan District Attorney's Office done its job in summer of 2008, I would not have been physically assaulted and almost murdered at Jersey City Medical Center, forced to flee to Manhattan, call my school, and now you're dragging me down here. Detective Cologne didn't do his job. Now I'm down here getting arraigned and you're talking about me in open court as if there's something wrong with me, and all these wonderful doctors are not wonderful doctors. They're crooks. They're dirty crooks. So I opened my mouth to Melissa Jackson. She told me to shut up. This is when I was being arraigned, the farce of my arraignment. She's another crooked judge that needs to be held accountable. And she told me to shut up. I'm like, no, ma'am, I will not shut up. I have the right to speak. If you're going to try to criminally convict me, it doesn't matter whether I have an attorney or not. I have the right to speak. And if the Manhattan District Attorney's Office had done its job in summer of 2008, none of the crimes that occurred after summer of 2008 would have happened. And she told me to shut up, or she would hold me in contempt of court. No, ma'am, I have the right to speak, and I'm speaking. That's when she held me in contempt.
I know.
That's when she threw me in Rikers Island for an evening. Okay?
These people are professional obfuscators who are actually obstructing justice. And the first thing out of their mouth is that you're obstructing justice.
And you should shut up to make it easy on
Yes.
you. You should go like sheep into the ovens. This is the same dirty tricks that Hitler
right.
used to use. Shut up. No, we will not shut up. No, we will not take the baby step. No, we're not going to take a little baby step and another baby step and another baby step, and then you find out at the end of that path you're going right into an oven and be killed. No, we're not. You need to fight them every step along the way. And if they try to stop you, they tried to this with Pauline Roman, they tried this with me. I opened my mouth, they're like, shut up. You have a lawyer, the lawyer talks for you. I don't care if the lawyer is here or not. I have the right to speak up in court. And if you tell me to shut up because I'm asserting my rights, you are violating my rights under the Constitution. And once you violate my rights, then you've lost jurisdiction. And this is the single best thing I can tell you. When they violate due process, your Fifth Amendment constitutional right to due process, your Sixth Amendment constitutional right to due process, your right to effective assistance counsel, your 14th Amendment right to equal protection of the law, your Fourth Amendment right. You go down to the court with this in your hand, you say, as soon as there's a rights violation, as soon as you tamper with my documents, as soon as you do something, you've broken that contract, you've lost jurisdiction, you have no power over me, and if you try to use those powers against me illegally, I will hold you accountable. You tell the judges, and you don't walk away for every transgression. Forget about suing the city. You sue that judge personally. I've named federal judges in my case. I will hold them personally accountable. If they die, you sue their estates. Okay? And when you make a few examples, that's when they'll get religion real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me just show you on the Skype.
You never surrender. You just, you have to be aggressive and demand your rights. In fact, I'm thinking now of some very honest lawyers and judges. And even with these people, you have to be aggressive and demand your rights and be very specific and detailed of what you demand and what your rights are.
So here we go. This is, yes, you do. You never surrender. That's what Carl Miller teaches us, okay? So here's our hero.
Never surrender.
Never surrender. This is Carl Miller. He's our hero. He will teach you how to, about your rights. The best 30 minutes you ever spent in your life. He's passing along, this is life-saving information. Now, I highly recommend you spend a little bit of time with Carl Miller, because as soon as there's a civil rights violation, as soon as you're denied due process, there's no jurisdiction. And you can stop a lot of the harm towards you. Now, over here here's the appeals court, has biting words for Vance's office, okay? So this is what you want to see right here.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to bring this up.
Yes. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Okay, so here we go. Now, Judge McLaughlin did to me, right, this is important, what he did to these guys right here. So what you want to do, let me increase the zoom a little bit so people can see it. Okay. So what you want to do is, this is the scam that Judge McLaughlin uses. So if you're in Manhattan, if you're in criminal court, if they're going to use Judge McLaughlin against you, you cite to this case and to Lydia Radin's case, because these are three people now. This is a pattern and a practice, okay? A pattern and a practice of convicting people illegally. Pure conjecture boasted by empty rhetoric, okay? That's how they convict you. And then once they convict you, they run the sentences consecutively to put you in jail for as long as they can. So this is what you want to be looking at. If Judge McLaughlin tries to do to you what was done to me, by the way, I know this judge right here. See this judge right here? She was the judge in one of the Yeshiva victims cases. We'll be getting back to her and holding her accountable. So this is how the scam runs. They illegally convict you, and then they run the sentences consecutively. And the appeals court already knows, all right? You probably want to, if you can afford him, Andrew Lankler. I hate to say this, but he's probably the only honest attorney I know, if there is such a thing, or he's less corrupt than most. I know Andrew Lankler from when I worked in a Fortune 300 company, and he knows me. So I was kind of waiting for his case. I can build now my appeal on his case, okay? So Mr. Vance is not a Democrat, he's a Democrook. He knows exactly what he's doing is wrong, okay? He knows what he's doing is wrong, and if you want to if you're out there and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Assistant District Attorney Alex Spiro is doing to you what they did to me, you call me and I will go down there and I'll stand in that courtroom and say no. So, and you want to make sure you educate yourself with Carl Miller's work and the U.S. Constitution. So let's go back to us. Okay. Here we are. Now, I want to show you, we've got about 20 minutes left, okay? And I want to show some hard evidence. So what we're going to do now is...
By the way,
sure.
I noticed that Barnes & Noble has lots of affordable editions of the U.S. Constitution.
Really? How much?
Oh, really affordable. You can get one for $6.98, a really good one, with explanations and everything at Barnes & Noble.
Good. We should call Barnes & Noble and ask them to make a contribution to...
I will. I
to Crooked Doctors.
I shall go in and ask them to make a contribution. But remember, you never surrender in court. You don't surrender. You stand by your principles, your convictions, and anything that you suspect is wrong probably is wrong, and you have to go by our friend. You do not understand. If the judge says, do you understand these charges? You say, I do not stand under these charges.
Well, you know,
and if they ask you if you're guilty or not guilty, if you're guilty or not guilty, you say, no, I'm a victim.
Well, in my case, I was, but what you want to do is look at your Constitution, and before you even get into the charges, you have to establish jurisdiction. What power do these people have to do anything? So that's why you want to look at Carl Miller's work, because as soon as they violate your due process rights, and during the course of my show, I've talked about, for example, your enemies, like in my case, will make phony 911 calls, and that's a trick to violate your Fourth Amendment constitutional right. If the police want to come in your house and look around, you say, do you have a warrant? Now, it takes some guts on your part because you've been trained to be sheep to stand up to the abuses of authority. So I got phony 911 calls, and this was a way to circumvent my Fourth Amendment constitutional right. You know, I have the right to be secure in my person, in my home, in my effects, in my papers. So if they're going to come to my house and want to search my house, the police, typically the scam that's used is there'll be a phony 911 call. This is what happened to me when I was released from Rikers after my illegal conviction, and I came to stay in Brooklyn. There were phony 911 calls, and whoops, I think we got a phone call. Let me see what we got. Hello? 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 Hi, do you have a question or comment? I'm going to put you through. Do you want to ask a question or share a comment? Hello?
Good, good.
Oh, I guess, well, we'll try again. Hello, thank you for calling Crooked Doctors. Do you have a question or a comment? Good, how are you? Let me put you through. Okay, guess who called?
How you doing?
I'm good. Listen, I got about 20 minutes. Stay on the line. This is Ben. He's one of our diehard fans. Jason's out in the field at a very important meeting recruiting people. I want to show you something very quickly because I promised that I would show this this evidence, and then we'll get to your comments. Is that okay with you, Ben?
Go right ahead. I'm retired, so it makes no difference. I got all the time in the world.
I want to show people this is the dirty trick that was used. This is what they got. This is how simple it is to defend yourself. Now, this was my original complaint. There's like 150 odd pages. I go down to the federal courthouse, the Eastern District of New York, and I filed a complaint that's, I don't know, what is that, like an inch thick of paper, okay? So I did my Rule 26 disclosure. I'm showing my adversaries, or they shouldn't even be my adversaries, they should be prosecuting. The U.S. Attorney's Office should be prosecuting Yeshiva University. But I'm fully releasing all these documents, okay, to show the fraud, okay? So there's a whole stack here. And I go in as a pro se litigant. I'm representing myself. I know my case. And I'm told by the pro se office, please do not submit your documents bound in any way, because we have to scan this through a scanner. And if you bind them in any way, they'll make holes in the paper, and it'll get stuck in our scanner. So we want you to submit your complaint as an unbound volume. Okay, so then we're going to put them through the scanner, and we're going to scan them into our electronic filing system, and then anybody can go down to the Eastern District of New York. This is 225 Codman Plaza. Walk in. On the right-hand side, if you walk into the clerk's office, there are computer kiosks, and you can put in my docket number, and you can look at all these documents. Now, I'm releasing all these documents because I'm having the U.S. Marshal in another state track me. Okay, I want him to track me. He's tracking me on Pacer. Pacer is a computer program that attorneys use, and you can be sitting in your office, pull up Pacer, and you can see the documents that were filed, so you don't have to waste your time going down to court. Now, I know I'm being tracked on Pacer. Okay, there are people in different states. One is a law enforcement official who's tracking me on Pacer, so I want them to see this. So you're with me so far, Josh?
Yes.
So I submit all my documents unbound, okay? This is what a spiral bound looks like, all right? So you can see this is a spiral bound, right? This plastic is spiral bound, okay? And if you take out this spiral bound, let me switch the camera for a second. Hold on. Let me go to camera 2. Let me switch to camera 2. Whoops. Hold on, just 1 second. Hang on. I should be camera 2. Whoop, 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 whoop. Of course,
Yeah,
I did my preset, but
I don't know what's happening.
just give me 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to switch the camera.
You are watching precision high definition TV.
Hold on. It's
Here at
okay.
M&N.
So here we go. All right. So what I'm going to try to show is this is spiral bound. The spiral bounding, right? So they tell you, do not submit your documents this way, because if you're in federal court and you're trying to submit your documents, what they'll have to do is take the spiral binding off. And you can see there are slots here, holes in the paper. See these holes? Okay, so if you submit your documents bound like this, and they're bound in any way, then these may tend to get caught in the feeder, into the scanner, and it'll make it hard for you to scan your documents. So they tell you, please do not submit your documents this way. Let me just go in a little bit more. Okay? So I submitted my documents when I went into federal court unbound. So this was my complaint, and I had to submit all my documents unbound. Now, this is how I can show that my documents were tampered with in federal court. Now, tampering with your documents is a very serious crime. Okay, so how can you show this? This is how easy it is to show. This is what I submitted, okay? And I labeled this document, and I was told by the clerks of court in federal court, do not submit your documents with tabs. Usually there are tabs. Do not submit your documents with tabs, because we'll have to take the tab off. But if you want the judge to see something, label it Exhibit A. So that's what I did. I labeled it Exhibit A, right? And I assumed that my documents would be handled with some integrity. It never occurred to me till months, almost a year later, to go down and check. So I go down and check at the federal district court, and I look at my documents on the computer kiosk, and I realize that this is the document that they have. And you can see that Exhibit A, right, the label that I put on, let me just draw back a little bit, that somebody tampered with my documents, because this is the document that I submitted, labeled Exhibit A, and Exhibit A has been taken, the label has been taken off. How could that happen?
That's not the first time it happened either.
Well, you know, this is how they're tampering with my documents. Now, how can I show that something happened here? Well, I remember I submit my documents unspiral bound. But if you look at this, you can see where there was a spiral bound here. Now, what I did, now let me just show you this for a second. Hold on. Thanks for your patience. See, this is spiral binding, and when you take the binding off and you make photocopies, you're going to get these dark circles that show that this was bound. Now, I submitted my documents unbound so that they would go through the feeder. And you can see here, there's no binding. You know, when you made the photocopy here, all of a sudden you can see it was spiral bound and the label has been taken off. Now, when I submitted my documents, I made courtesy copies for the judge, so the judge would have a copy and they wouldn't have to be sitting at their desk or go through their computer. So somebody took the courtesy copies that I had, and I also have I also went down and checked with Carolyn E. Crook. She's the attorney for the city, and I have a videotape that I'll show next week. She's got a spiral bound volume. So what they did is they took my documents, right? That's how they tampered with Exhibit A. If you hold this for a second.
Yes.
So I had this printed out, and this is Exhibit B. Now this is what I submitted, right? I labeled, let me show you this. Okay. I labeled this Exhibit B. But the court has this where Exhibit B has been taken off, and you can see it came from a spiral bound volume. But I didn't submit a spiral bound volume. I've submitted my documents unbound so they could go through the feeder. So somebody whited out Exhibit B. So I go down and I check my documents again. Here's Exhibit C. Now this is what I submitted, right? I submitted these as unbound so they could go through the feeder, right? And I labeled this Exhibit C. But look what they have, okay? This is what they've got in their computer system. Somebody took this and whited out Exhibit C. And you could tell it came from a spiral bound volume. Okay, but that's not what I submitted in the court for the pro se office for scanning. This is the loose unbound ones that I submitted. And to opposing counsel, I submitted a bound volume, right, and to the judges. So somebody tampered with my documents. And why did they do this? Because they did this because, if I come back to us, they did this because they tampered with my documents, because they went behind my back to a judge, and I had, this is what they did. They did this to Judge Chen. I'm submitting my records, these falsified medical records from Rikers Island, and they did a scam. And this was the same scam that they did in the lower court. So I'm named as a witness against the crooked doctors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, specifically Jimmy David or James David, and they went to Judge Simpson behind my back, and they showed her a bunch of medical records, okay, in camera. And she looked at the medical records and she said, wow, they look like they're in full compliance with a subpoena. She blessed them and sent them back to the school. Now, what's wrong with that picture? I'm not Jimmy David's patient. I'm not a patient of any of these people. So behind my back, and my attorney is cooperating in this criminal scheme, they go to some judge, her name is Judge Simpson, and they say, look, we've released, the College of Medicine is now releasing Lydia Radin's medical records. The judge looks at them. She finds that they fully complied with discovery. She blesses them and sends them back to the school. No one bothered checking the facts with Lydia Radin.
As they say in everyday terms, why is that game worth the marbles?
Because they wanted to get rid of Lydia Radin. So they went behind my back to Judge Simpson. I asked for my records, And, you know, my medical records were falsified, not at the school, because I'm not a patient of anyone at the school. I was talking about my medical records at Jersey City Medical Center, where they lied. So, you know, I'm talking to my attorney and I say, Jersey City Medical Center executed a fraud. My medical school executed a fraud. I've got falsified educational records. I have falsified financial records. I have falsified medical records. So they decided to twist things and misconstrue, and the school filed false criminal charges against me. Behind my back, they go to Judge Simpson. She's still a judge here in Manhattan. And they show her these false medical records, and they claim that I'm Jimmy David's patient. This psychiatrist that I was named as a witness against is now telling some judge his medical opinion of me. Okay, I'm not Jimmy David's patient. He has no right to make any opinion of me. In fact, I was named as a witness against him 3 years ago, when the criminal charges came down in 2009. I was named as a witness against Jimmy David in 2006. Now, did anyone bother checking the facts with me? The police didn't bother checking the facts. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office was negligent in not checking the facts. They were more than not negligent. They did this deliberately, knowingly, willingly. This is what they do at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. When you've got the evidence to show that they're nothing but a bunch of crooks, they go behind your back to the authorities. They get some crooked doctor like Jimmy David to claim that you're his patient, and nobody's listened to you because you're the nutcase. Do you love it? This is how my life is being destroyed. Okay, so Ben, we got 8 minutes left. What would you like to say?
Well, actually, I forgot what I was going to say, but, you know, now that you brought these papers up, I mean, let me just ask you a couple of questions about this.
Sure.
Those 3 pages, Exhibit A, B, and C, were the only ones that had the spiral thing on it?
No, you see this? This is like 150 pages. My complaint, my amended complaint, what I did originally was I went in and I just submitted something as a complaint. And then you have 4 months to serve your complaint. During that 4 months, you have an opportunity to amend once as of right. So I get out of Rikers. I tried to make a good faith effort to work with my attorneys. I got out of Rikers, where I was illegally incarcerated, in 2011. I make a good faith effort to work with my attorneys. They're stabbing me in the back. So I knew that I had to take charge of my case and do something fast, or I'd be, murdered, literally. I'd be killed. So I started to take action. As part of the action that I took, in 2012, I went down to federal court. I filed a complaint, and I knew that I had 4 months to serve, and during that 4 months, I could amend once of right. So I go to amend my complaint, and I amended it with these over 150 pages. So now to expect that a judge is going to sit in front of his or her computer and go through all these 150 pages was a bit much. So I also made spiral-bound volumes, and I submitted courtesy copies to the judge. And those spiral-bound volumes will look like this. So if the judge is like, let me go here. So if the judge is, on the train doing the subway reading, he's got a hard copy with him.
Yes.
Okay, and I submitted hard copies, spiral-bound hard copies, to opposing counsel. That would be Carolyn Crooks. So she would have a copy that she could refer to, whether or not she was on the computer. So when I went down to file my amended complaint, I was told by the pro se office, provide us with an unbound volume. We're going to scan this into our electronic system. Anybody can go down to the Federal District Court at 225 Conrad Plaza and look at what I submitted. And then I had spiral-bound courtesy copies that I gave to opposing counsel and to the judge. So those courtesy copies, I went down and checked. There's hard copies. I went down with the U.S. Marshals and I said, look, this is what I submitted, and this is what I'm seeing in the database. Now, the first dirty trick that they used was the judge, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that this took me about a year to figure out. I'm thinking I'm doing this show and I'm thinking everybody's looking at the evidence, but they're not. Because here's the first dirty trick. They put a security hold on my documents, and they wouldn't allow anybody to see them. So if you went down to the computer kiosk and tried to look or print my documents, my documents were not released. They were not readily available to the public. So when I went down and asked why are you restricting access to my documents? I'm releasing all this hard evidence. Why are you restricting access to my documents? I was told that, oh, they're protecting me. I'm like, you're not protecting me. I'm submitting this to the court because I want people to see it. Right? This is fraud. I want people to see these crimes. So they claimed because there was some information here, like my medical records. And I'm like, these are not medical records. These are wholesale fraud. They appear to be medical records, but they're wholesale fraud. And oh, there's some banking information. Oh, well, for this check right here, well, this bank account was closed. There's no confidential information here. Whatever is confidential, I redacted. Okay, so I had to get into a knockdown, drag-out fight with a federal judge to unrestrict access to these documents. So basically, I wasted about a year because I didn't realize that they had restricted access. So when you submit your documents to court, don't assume that you're dealing with moral, ethical people. You're dealing with corruption. Okay, so you go down and you relentlessly follow up and you make sure that you can see your documents on the computer kiosk, that they're not restricted, and you make sure that what you submitted is exactly what's in their computer system. Because what they did to me by tampering with my documents, they wanted to perpetrate or perpetuate, first in the criminal proceeding, they'd gone behind my back to some judge, lied to her behind my back. They did this, my attorney helped them commit these crimes, claimed that I was some doctor's patient, had everybody treat me dismissively, and now that I'm out of Rikers, they were trying the same thing because I got my hands on the falsified medical records from Rikers Island, and they went to Judge Chen behind my back, and they were going to try to use these records and tell her the same lie, and I wouldn't let them get away with it. Okay, so
look, I can continue this next week, so we only have time. I just wanted to ask you,
sure.
How is Bill?
How's Bill? Bill's doing great.
Sending him flowers or something? Is there something I should know?
No, actually, I'm going to try to Skype Bill in because everybody. I'm so glad you asked about Bill. Thank you very much. That's very sweet.
You know, I also worry about Betty too. She can't be doing very well either.
I'm not sure Betty's doing so great, but thank you so much for your concern.
Good.
But Bill is doing better, and I promised that I would go visit him so I would get him up on Skype so I could Skype him in.
Right.
He loves the work that we're doing. He'll be very happy to hear from you, Bill. And
No, really, I just want to know, please.
Yeah,
put him up or let's get a call from him.
you know.
I'll have him call in next week.
But
So
I want proof of life, okay?
okay.
All right.
This is reminiscent.
Thanks for calling, Ben.
And you look great. What do you have, a new stylist or something?
Yeah,
Oh, well, Ben, I'm kicking it up a notch.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you,
you're like an attorney.
Jason.
You know, this is the way I used to go to the hospital, actually. I used to look 10 times better than this when I would go do my work at the hospital.
I told you look like an attorney now.
Bite your tongue.
It's good to hear from you.
Josh, okay? Talk to you next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, good.
You know, this is reminiscent of the unknown known, which was a concept of Donald Rumsfeld. He doesn't know how he knows what he knows, but he knows that he knows it.
Okay. So next week we're going to go into more of this is criminal conduct, and that means that these people are going to be prosecuted, and when they commit a crime like this, so that they violated my right to due process, that means they have no jurisdiction. All the rulings against me,
Absolutely.
all the rulings against me are now null and void. Okay, we're done.